What is up, y'all? Back with another video. Jim Ross is right about AEW. We all know that. He spoke the truth about the indie wrestlers, the jobbers, any other wrestling companies. They all do the same thing. One move doesn't work. One move that used to work, now they're using it as just a regular move. Can't even come up with something new. Just seems like they are unwilling to try, to say the least. Original video, my social media accounts will be down below, and let's get to it.
On a recent podcast, when talking about AEW and the whole wrestling world in general, JR criticized the business, saying,
So I told a kid the other day at AEW, said, everybody does the same spot. All you guys get outside, you cluster up like quail, you stand there in a huddle, friends and foes together side by side, so that you can catch some leaping idiot going over the top who never wins with this move. And they don't get an advantage with this move. It's, they're looking for the holy shit chant. That's what got that going, I think. They love to hear those holy shit, this is awesome. It's a spot, folks. It's a trapeze act. So I don't know. I don't buy into that. The DDT is a great finish. It should be used as such. Unless you're not as proficient as Jake the Snake was, and so you can't really execute it. What if I said it on commentary? Boy, folks, don't you remember those DDTs and somebody hit that, it was over? I guess these guys just aren't as good at it as they used to be.
And that struck a lot of people the wrong way, but I honestly think that Jim Ross is right about AEW and also WWE and NXT and every other company in the world. Here's an example of what Jim Ross meant from a lumberjack match between Wardlow and Luchasaurus.
Onto the pile on the outside, now Luchasaurus.
What is this crap?
Oh my God! Shooting star pressed by the 6'5".
And you wonder why Jim Ross has been right about everything. This is one of them, y'all.
275-pound Luchasaurus. I've seen everything. But at some point, somebody's going to get back in the ring so we can find out who's going to win or lose this match.
I want to first say thank you, Jim Ross, for calling them out on it.
Yeah.
When AEW had their first show, I was definitely in the honeymoon phase of a new company, and being blinded by the fact that there was a new company was enough for me to ignore that the wrestling was so. JR calling them out on it is something that needed to happen for their sake. This can't even be the first time that he criticizes them, let's be real. It might be the first time that it happened online on YouTube, but I'm sure it happened a lot more in the past behind the scenes. That's my pure speculation based off of a video where he was complaining about a lot of the production issues while the broadcast was accidentally still on the line. Listen to him in this clip.
Let's not do all of it. Yeah, that's... What's the last thing you want to hear from me? Excalibur can tell the story of the women's title issue. We know that. But I still don't know what we're going to do on this on camera. So we don't need to say the names that we see on the fucking right. Get out. Quick welcome to Hangman Page. He says, thanks, I'm glad to be here. Whatever you want to say, they'll go do our business. Sounds good? Yes, sir.
If Jim Ross was angry about all those little things, then there is no way in hell that this man doesn't point it out on the roster when the cameras are off about their wrestling. The problem is that these wrestlers simply don't care. There was a report that broke out explaining how the wrestlers were pissed off at Jim Ross for burying them, and I gotta disagree with it. Criticism is good.
Here's what I don't understand about the wrestling industry. When somebody criticizes you for your talent, you can either learn from them or just don't wrestle. It's just plain simple. These dudes, or should I say legends, have been in this business way before these guys were ever born. So the fact that they get mad at a legend for speaking the truth, yeah, they're blind as well.
Every profession in the world can use some criticism to get better. AEW talent needs to listen to the old school guys like Jim Ross, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Tony Schiavone, Jake Roberts. Jerry Lynn and Taz. I hate the fact that these guys are going out there thinking that they have more knowledge than those veterans. Most of these men have been in the business since the 70s and the 80s. Some of them worked during the best period of the industry and were working before these guys were even born.
Yeah.
Classic old school wrestling is much better than a lot of the things we see today on NXT and AEW specifically. WWE is more toned down, but I see those two brands doing some of the goofiest things in the ring. I think this is a perfect example that I really want to talk about in a recent video, and I'm glad I had the chance to do so now. It happened in a match between Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks. You gotta prepare yourself for what you're about to see.
This is the one thing I really hate about AEW is the Young Bucks, Jungle. I really do not like these. I mean, the Hardy Boys were enough, but I kind of feel like in today's standards, you see these guys, I feel like you're watching a circus show rather than a wrestling match. And it's just embarrassing to see.
Ropes! I'd love to see what Luchasaurus would do as a singles competitor.
And he's got the size for it. Look at this, another one! What are they doing? Oh my gosh! Oh my, I've never seen that before! 1, 2, no!
Man, Omega
Really?
left a little late.
I will never forget watching that live on TV while it was still happening, because it was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen as a fan of the business. Wrestling is supposed to look as legit as you can make it. It's about two rivals going head to head and trying to win a match. When watching old matches, you could tell how serious they took it. Logic is a crucial thing to making wrestling successful. Seeing this moment right
take
here
these Young
literally
Bucks seriously.
defeats the purpose of professional wrestling. Nick Jackson is actually helping the Jurassic Express perform that maneuver. Rather than stopping it from happening, he is a part of it, holding his brother's hand to make sure that he won't botch, and it's also trying to prevent an injury. I have an idea. How about, instead of trying to do that move to prevent the injury and looking stupid, you just don't do the move in the first place, and you don't make it look like a gymnastics performance? How did this even get approved? It makes wrestling look like a joke. This proves that Jim Ross was spot on. That should have never happened. It sucked. It really, really sucked. And I think it's been hurting wrestling for the last year in AEW. I'm sure that these wrestlers are used to doing these kinds of stuff on a smaller scale in the independent circuit, but that isn't something that you can do on national TV.
You know, here's my thoughts on this. They should have stayed in the independent circus. They should have stayed in the indie wrestling. I mean, look, once you go inside a different wrestling programming, you're gonna have to change something. I mean, look at how The Undertaker did when he debuted in WWF a long time ago. He was wrestling in WCW and he was wrestling in different styles. So when he came into the WWF in 1990, he completely changed how he wrestled. Chokeslam, tombstone piledriver, flying clotheslines. I mean, he was using different stuff. You gotta be able to change, you know, a little bit of your style. Don't keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. Unless you gotta make it look more aggressive, then yeah.
On TNT. If you want to compete against WWE trying to take their market share, this can never happen again. That isn't the only time that something ridiculous happened. Let's take a look at this sequence between Penelope Ford and Britt Baker.
Yeah, Statlander was too near the ropes. Baker knew that would be a futile effort.
But Penelope Ford! What a cutter. Back handspring into the cutter has Baker rattled.
When Ford leaves her feet, she does great things.
What was that?
As Penelope Ford was going for the springboard cutter, or whatever the move is called, Britt Baker had a ton of time to get out of the way. She was legit just looking at her the whole time, and she jumped into it as well. The audience is subjected to seeing how stupid this looks. It's actually a reason why I hate that move. That cutter, the springboard cutter, should be removed from wrestling. Penelope Ford could have made things a little bit better if she just struck her in the back with a forearm, so it wouldn't have been so obvious that she was expecting it to happen. I could find dozens of clips of this happening. I think a majority of the AEW roster is not ready for TV time. These wrestlers need to get off of social media awaiting approval from their hardcore fans online. They need to take their footage instead and head over to the veterans in the back asking for ways to make it better. I'm sure Jim Ross would have no problem providing
I
advice.
can't get over that last.
Even if that's telling them that they shouldn't do the move anymore. That can't happen eventually. Your ego might be a hard pill to swallow, but you gotta do it if you want to improve in that squared circle. I really believe that indie wrestling has conditioned these guys into thinking that that kind of stuff appeals to the general public. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Some AEW wrestlers surprisingly agreed with Jim Ross's comments. When asked about his thoughts, Darby Allin said that he loved JR and he agreed with him. The current TNT champion is one of the more promising young stars of AEW. It just seems like he's taking a lot of the criticism and only getting better. That is how he improved his game over time. Darby Allin also makes sure to make everything look as legit as it can be, and honestly don't know if the kid's dying half the time. That is how you do your job. Dax Hardwood also tweeted this, which is a perfect way to end the video. You don't allow your hurt feelings from criticism derail your growth. Like I said earlier, these wrestlers in AEW got a lot more to learn. I hope more wrestlers agree with these comments and decide to actually learn from these legends instead of being ignorant.
One thing I've always loved about Jim Ross, he is the most experienced out of everybody. He knows what he's talking about. He's seen this all the time. And the fact that people got mad over his criticism, it really lets me know that they don't want to understand, they don't want to learn. I must say my words out, but what I'm trying to say is that they can't even understand why he said what he said. You can't be using the same moves all the time. You got to be able to change something. And I'm glad one wrestler from AEW agreed with Ross. And what's sad about this whole thing to me is when he showed that clip of them all pulling in the middle, just waiting for a guy in a mask to do some kind of maneuver on them. That was just a waste of time. Then, on top of that, we've seen another example. When they tried to prevent a botch against the Young Bucks, that was terrible. Even with the women's match, when Brooke Baker took the botch, she, like he said, had all the time. What happened? She botched. And you wonder why I haven't watched any AEW because of that. And I'm starting to understand what Jim Ross was talking about. Maybe if these young guys could learn how to take criticism, they would have been improved a lot better in terms of their wrestling skills. But it's unfortunate they do not want to listen. They must have think that, hey, I'm from the indie wrestling market. I'm going to come to AEW and I'm going to use the same move I used over there in the past, thinking that's going to work. No. If you come into the business, you're going to have to change up your style. You can still use your own moves, but you need to come up with a new finisher, a new wrestling moves. You got to change. It can't just be the same thing over and over again. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you watching a TV show and you watching a clip show of an episode instead of watching the episode with a different plot. That's what's wrong with today's society, especially in TV. Now I understand what Jim Ross is talking about. And shout outs to Planet Productions for making this video. Y'all enjoyed this video? Let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you in my next video. Peace out.